Hello, invisible audience! Okay, so this probably doesn't sound like a big deal, but bear with me because I'm about to explain why it's a big deal, but I started knitting a pair of socks. Okay, I know this does not look very impressive, but like, that's the cuff, that's where you stick your foot in, and then it's got a heel, and the heel actually, it turns like it should. I turned the heel. This is great. It's happening. I'm knitting a sock. So I know you're thinking, why do I care that you're knitting a sock? But I've wanted to knit socks for the past 6 years, I think. This is literally an achievement years in the making. In high school I taught myself to knit with the express purpose of one day being able to knit socks. When I started I could only do very simple, very basic, very boring knitting. I just knit scarves for people and they were super lame. Slowly, year by year, I would teach myself new skills in knitting. So I learned how to purl and knit. I learned how to, do rib stitching and stuff like that. I learned how to knit in the round. I learned how to knit three-dimensional objects. I very slowly started gathering the skills that I needed to knit socks. And like every other year or so, I would find a sock pattern and I would look at it and be like, all right, can I do this? And I would start trying to knit a pair of socks and fail miserably and then just have to wait until I learned something else. And I'm finally there. I finally reached that point. I am knitting a pair of socks. It's happening. It's real. And admittedly, it did take about 6 years. That's a long time. And part of the reason it took so long is every time I'd learned a new skill, I would look at how much more I needed to learn before I could actually knit a pair of socks, and I wouldn't knit anymore until the next winter because that was overwhelming. That was too much work. It all had to be broken up and learned gradually, one thing at a time, before I could actually finally put it all together into creating the thing that I wanted to create from the beginning. This is a lesson that I've had to learn every year leading up to this pair of socks, is that learning something new takes time, and it takes hard work, and it takes effort, and everything gets easier with practice. And this applies to everything, to knitting, to art, to YouTube videos, to being a better person. To get better at anything, you need to put in the effort. And I've had this specific ball of yarn that I purchased 4 years ago to remind me of that up until this point. But once this becomes a pair of socks, I won't have this ball of yarn sitting around to remind me of this anymore, and so I'm making this video to remind myself instead. I think it's been universally accepted that this year has been the worst. I don't completely buy into that because I feel like looking at the year in the whole, if you're only focusing on the bad things, you're missing out on so much. So I'm not gonna say that this year has been a complete loss, but I'm not gonna say that it's been entirely great either. But what I am going to say is that if we want our future to be better, we're going to have to work hard. So don't give up. I know this sounds super cheesy and lame and cliche, and you're gonna hear this all the time constantly, but don't give up. It's going to be hard work, but don't stop trying to do whatever it is that you want to do. Keep working hard to make art, to make friends, to make the world a better place. If I can spend 6 years learning how to knit a sock, I think you can accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to do. The future is ours to mold, and I am real bad at pottery, but like, I can practice. I genuinely hope that this new year is good to all of you and that you all just like follow your gosh darn dreams, alright? Cool. Pachoo, pachoo, pachoo! For those of you who want some knitting tips, stoppers. So your stitches don't fall off your needles. These are the erasers from crappy pencils that I was never going to use. And I just took little erasers and just jabbed them on the end here, and bam! Now I don't lose any stitches. There's your knitting tip.